I'm Amanda First, Director of Public Interest Programs at the University of Minnesota Law School, and today I'm talking to you about building postgraduate fellowships. First, what is a fellowship? Fellowship is used to describe a lot of different things. For our purposes, I'm talking about postgraduate positions. They're generally funded for a year or two. Students generally do them right after graduating or after doing a judicial law clerk, although some fellowships you can do at any time in your legal career. They can involve direct representation or litigation, but can really involve a whole lot of different skills to do the kind of work that you want to do on that project or in that position. So students explore fellowships for all kinds of reasons. The first reason is that it's a great pathway into public interest work. You're not waiting for a staff attorney opening. You're creating your own dream job. You're getting in at the organization you want to get in, and you're doing the kind of work that you want to do immediately. Because fellowships also can involve different components of work, students also like them as a way to integrate community education or litigation or policy work into the direct service work, or to really build the balance of skills that they want at the organization or in the field that they're really looking for. So there are a lot of different kinds of postgraduate fellowships. I'm going to talk about 4 today and then discuss how to best build the project-based ones. So first, there are organization-based fellowships. Even though these are called fellowships, you're really applying to them as you would a regular job. The organization has already gotten the funding for the fellowship. They've created the job description. They've already decided what it is that you're going to do, and you're really just applying to it as you would any other kind of position, although it generally still lasts for a year, maybe 2, and there are usually different components to the work that you're doing throughout. It's not a traditional staff attorney role. So the Equal Justice Works AmeriCorps Legal Fellowships are an example of this. And you might be applying to these a year prior or a couple months prior. It really depends on when the organization gets that funding and when they're allowed to post. So second are firm-sponsored fellowships, and these are becoming a little more popular. These are fellowships developed by a law firm, usually a larger law firm, to pay a fellow to work specifically on a public interest project for a designated time. So you might be working at the firm on a project, but you might also be working at a nonprofit or at a different organization funded by the firm. Usually it's not connected to a long-term commitment to work with the law firm, but those positions are in there as well. You would apply to these like other positions, again, usually a year prior to the start date, and the Fried Frank Fellowships are an example of this opportunity. Third would be academic fellowships. You find these, again, usually a year before you would start. And these are designed traditionally by a law school to fund work on a specific project in an academic setting. So these fellowships traditionally can involve a lot of research, maybe working with classes or working in a clinic. Sometimes they're tied to obtaining an LLM degree. And these are really for people that are interested in work that has a more academic component. They're posted by different schools, and you would apply as you would other positions, but some of these would require that you really in the application get into your areas of research or your areas of study that really interest you. So the fourth kind of fellowship is the project-based fellowship, and that's what I'm going to spend the majority of today talking about. These are positions where you are creating the opportunity and writing a project for yourself. So the funder posts the opportunity and provides the funding, but you're writing the proposal and finding a host organization to work with if selected. At the time you apply, you're saying, here is the project I'll be working on, here is the organization I'll be doing this through, and here's why I'm the best candidate to do this kind of project. So historically, funders are funding proposals that fit in with their specific goals. They're usually pretty clear about this, and they're helping you see what might most be funded by that organization. So for these positions, you're really applying through the funder's website. 2 examples of these that are the most common would be the Equal Justice Works Fellowships and the Skadden Fellowships. So how can you apply to these and how can you find them? So fellowships are in all kinds of places. Many of these are look like traditional job postings, The good news is they tend to be the same every year. You know when these opportunities come in. So taking a look at the resources on PSJD, even as a first or second year student, you can see what's available and what will be available for you later on and the general time frame in which you might apply. So certainly there are postings on Simplicity, but in addition to Simplicity, looking at PSJD's deadline calendar, their job database, definitely their comprehensive fellowship guide. This comes out every year and has all the different kinds of fellowships available. For the project-based fellowships, definitely start by looking at Equal Justice Works and Skadden. You can see lists of everything that's been funded before, who our alumni are there, and what kinds of work they're doing. Some other examples of fellowships to take a look at would be the Presidential Management Fellows, the Yale Guide on Postgraduate Fellowships. There's a lot of opportunities out there to see the different positions. So starting a project proposal. For the project-based fellowships, this is often the most challenging part for students. I think the first step should be to explore past projects that really fit in with your interests so that you can see what kinds of things have been funded and how people are discussing projects and creating something. So if you start with Skadden and Equal Justice Works, you can look through even just last year, the fellows that were funded. You could see who's doing projects that involve immigration or housing, and you can read these really easy couple sentence descriptions of their project and what they're doing. And looking through those, you can really see, first of all, what kinds of things are being funded, but also what organizations are hosting these. Because step 2 is definitely going to be to find organizations. And you should be starting this, definitely in the summer before you apply. Because finding an organization that is interested in hosting you, developing that relationship if it's not already there, having a lot of conversations about your project and how it fits with your needs and their interests, that can take a while. So finding organizations, lots of students look at places that they've worked at in the past. There are organizations that will post on PSJD that they're interested in sponsoring fellows. But really, organizations where you can do the kind of work in the location that you're interested in, that's a good place to reach out. So when you reach out, you definitely want to have a plan, but also start a conversation. So if you reach out to an organization and say, I want to do a fellowship, I'll do anything, they're really not going to take that super seriously. If you reach out and say, I'm interested in immigration and I'd really like to work directly with people, and here are some aspects of that interest me, what would fit your needs, that's usually the best place to start that conversation of, do your interests align both with the organization and with coming up with something for the project proposal? And then certainly for different kinds of fellowships, there are different goals and parts that they'll fund. And so working with the Career Center, specifically working with me to go through your proposal and to make sure that it aligns with something that will be funded or something that has a chance at being funded is very, very important. And that can go through a lot of drafts. So when to apply? We discussed this a little bit. For project-based fellowships, you're really applying in early fall of your third year, or if you're in a clerkship, of the year prior to when you would start the opportunity. So Equal Justice Works is historically mid-September, and Skadden is historically early October. But students really work with organizations and begin drafting those projects the summer before applying. Now, the earlier that you can start talking to organizations, the better. You don't want to spend all summer thinking about your project and then contact organizations in August, because most of them have already started working with applicants, and that might not be enough time for them to really work with you on your project and get your application in. So those should really go hand in hand. In May or June, start thinking about what you want to do, what organizations might interest you. See if those are organizations that have postings and are recruiting fellows, or just go ahead and reach out at that time. So how can you succeed in fellowship applications? Successful fellowship applications, specifically for the project-based ones that you're creating yourself, funders are looking for a couple things. What are you doing? Are you responding to a need? Are you fitting the fellowship's goals? Is this something that's important to do? Is it worth doing now? And will it be done well? And this is where you come in. You have this background. This is part of your long-term goals for yourself. Your organization has the expertise and the capacity to host you. And your project is something that is exciting and transformative, but still specific, measurable, attainable, and something that you can do within a specific amount of time. So if you're thinking about fellowships, and especially if you're a 2L student or someone doing a clerkship looking to apply, definitely reach out to Connect anytime. We can help with identifying fellowships and host organizations, building your project, reviewing your application materials, connecting you with sample applications from past years, and then later on through the interview process.